Hey, Walt here from StogieReview.com with another video cigar review. And before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about me and my car. So the other day, I was talking to Jerry, and we were talking about commute cigars because my commute is drastically shorter in the morning than it is in the afternoon ever since I moved. So at about 4:45, 5 a.m., my commute to work takes about 35 minutes. And I'm struggling to find a cigar that kind of fits in that 35-minute time frame. I tried the Nub Connecticut, and I wound up throwing away about half of it. I tried the Guerrilla Warfare, which is I think it's a 4x40. It was a little potent for the morning, and that came in much closer, but still I wound up throwing a bunch of it away. And we were kind of talking back and forth, discussing potential options, and the J Fuego Originals came up as one option. But my ride home is about an hour, and you know, something like the Nub, depending on traffic and situation and things, it winds up being a little bit short. You know, so we were talking about cigars that kind of filled the void. And Jerry jokingly mentioned firing up the camera and doing, you know, a commute ride home with Walt as a joke. And I thought I'd make that joke happen, since I have a tripod mount for my car, which is Velcroed to my passenger side visor. So I'm not exactly on my way home right now. I had some running around to do this afternoon, but I'm on my way home from my other house, or from the area where my other house is, and it's probably going to be at least a 45-minute ride home with traffic at 3:30 in the afternoon. So I thought I'd light up a cigar, talk a little about it along the way, and make Jerry's dream come true, or Jerry's joke come true. So the cigar that I'm smoking is the Indian Tobac Super Fuerte Natural. This is a cigar that we all used to. If you've been smoking cigars for a few years now, you're part of the collective we. We've been smoking this cigar for years, and it's kind of fallen off the radar over the years, and many of us have gone a long time without smoking one of these. So I was on Cigar Monster or something looking for deals to order up some stuff that was inexpensive, and one of the things that caught my attention was the Super Fuerte. It's been years since I've had one. And way back when I used to smoke them on a regular basis, or smoke Indian Tobac product on a regular basis, I always enjoyed Indian Tobac more so than Rocky Patel. They're kind of one and the same. Indian Tobac is kind of the cheap brand, or the generic, where Rocky Patel is the name brand and more expensive stuff. And despite the Rocky Patel brand having much more flair and more of a following, I've always found myself to be more of an Indian Tobac kind of guy. I think the blends are a little bit more consistent. The cigars are much more affordable, and it's just like the Punch Rare Corojo. It's kind of like home cooking. It's just no frills. They just get the job done. So I think I paid about $12 for a 5-pack. With free shipping because they were on Cigar Monster, and they arrived, and I've been smoking them off and on ever since. It hasn't been a real long time, and I'm through most of them in my 5-pack. So I think this is cigar number 4 for me. So this is kind of where the review kicks off. Okay, well, we got the long introduction out of the way. Now let's talk a little bit about the cigar itself. So, first thing you do is you pull it out of the cellophane and you take a look at it. It has a very beautiful appearance to it. I mean, it's got the classic no frills Indian Tobac band on it, but aside from that, it's got this light brown color that it looks almost like over-creamed coffee, that really light, sort of silky kind of brown, and it's got these really faint veins and just this really nice oily sort of texture to the wrapper leaf itself. And I've always found that really nice about these cigars. They look really, really good for being as inexpensive as they are. Now, one of the downsides to that is the wrapper seems rather thin, so if you look at this thing wrong, you could develop a crack. And a lot of times when I'm cutting them, I get a small crack around the head, and usually when I'm pulling the band off, I'll develop another crack around the band, or just behind it. So while the wrapper looks really good, it seems overly thin, and it can become a bit of a nuisance at times. Now, despite these cracks, I haven't had an issue where smokability became a problem. All of them seem to smoke fairly well, and have been a non-issue in that regard, even if the wrapper is lifting a little bit in spots. So after you open up the cigar, the pre-light draw is pretty loose. It's actually almost a little bit too loose, and I like my cigars to be really loose. But the smoke volume is good. Once you get this thing lit, it really produces a good volume of smoke. It coats the palate well. It's really thick and kind of has almost like a chewy texture. It's a little soft and oily on the palate. The flavors, there really aren't a whole lot of them. You get a bit of a leather taste. You get a little bit of an earthy taste. It has almost like a buttery smoothness to it. So there aren't a whole lot of flavors that intermingle really well together, but they're just good, solid flavors. Just kind of a no-frills cigar at the beginning. It definitely lets you know it's there when you retrohale the smoke. It will give you a bit of a punch. It is medium to full-bodied, and that's kind of the funny thing with this cigar. I mean, years ago when I used to smoke these, the Super Fuerte, or that's what these are, right? The Extra Fuerte, Super Fuerte, whatever they are, the Indian Tobac super strong cigars were really strong back then, and I always thought of them as being really powerful and only smoke it in the evening kind of cigar. But over the years, our whole perception of body has changed so dramatically, with cigars getting bolder and bolder and more powerful every year, that the old Super Fuerte is, at the bottom of the full spectrum these days. So don't be alarmed by the Super Fuerte name on the band. So good, solid cigar to start. Not a whole lot in the way of interesting dynamic flavors. Just kind of a no frills, get the job done cigar to start. If you can see it, but I've got a crack that developed just below the band. Again, they're kind of cosmetic. They look kind of ugly, but they really aren't much of a hindrance to the way the cigar smokes, even up around the head. A lot of times when cigars crack up near the head, they can be a real pain. You gotta lick your finger and get the tobacco wet and kind of roll it around and try to get it to seal tight. Otherwise, you get a lot of air through the draw and they just don't draw right. But in this case, this seems to be doing fairly well, even with the issues popping up. But, I guess I really could complain, about cigars cracking regularly, but for $12 and they keep smoking, there really isn't a whole lot to complain about. This is just one of those lines where, you almost expect them to cut some corners on quality a little bit, but I really haven't run into one that was unsmokable or one that was a real pain to smoke. So sometimes they look a little ugly, but they get the job done. Well, we're at about the halfway point now. I'm getting really close to the Indian Tobac band, but they've got a reputation for being ginormous. But I'm at about the halfway point now, and the cigar's going pretty well. This is a really good example of what a one-dimensional cigar would be. I'm still getting the same leathery taste, a little bit of earthiness, a little bit of almost like a buttery sort of texture, creamy finish, smooth creamy finish, and there isn't a whole lot of change going on. And sometimes I really don't mind a cigar having no change. The only difference that I pick up from time to time is that the cigar gets a little, I don't want to say acrid, but it gets kind of wonky and unbalanced at times. So you could be smoking along and everything is fine, and then all of a sudden you take a puff and just things are way out of balance, where the power outnumbers the flavor, and it's just kind of weird. It's got this not quite metallic, but just this acrid kind of taste to it, and it quickly goes away, so it doesn't hang around for very long. So 1, 2, 3 puffs, and sometimes it's gone completely. But all in all, it's smoking really well, and for the money, I really can't complain. I like these at $12 a 5-pack. They're just a stellar buy if you're looking for budget-friendly or cheap cigars. Well, this is kind of awkward. This commute wound up being much shorter than I anticipated. So I guess this is where we end it, unless I sit in my driveway and finish the review. But good solid cigar for the money. No frills. It's kind of low end of the full-bodied spectrum. It coats the palate well, provides good smoke volume, nice dense smoke, easy to get through the sinus. One-dimensional. There isn't a whole lot of flavor change throughout, but for $12, there's really not a whole lot you can argue about. So you're getting 5 for $12 when they're on sale. Ordinarily, I think boxes are under $70, under $80 a box. So really good value cigar. Again, kind of a good passive cigar, much like the Puncheria Corojo that I smoked. It's a good solid cigar when you've got other things going on and you can't dedicate all your time to it. So again, not to sound like a broken record, but solid cigar for the money, well worth it. Check it out for $12.50 a 5-pack or whatever it is.